Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of like the idea of that. So basically, if you have a union of professional riders, it's the sport is going to be evolving more around what the professionals want to see, from it. I like that idea.
Today on BigScreenTony, we take it back to when Blair Conklin was 18 years old, the skid kid himself. I hope you enjoy. Thought this would be a special treat for you to kick off the United Skim Tour. Here we go, baby.
Have you done any other documentaries, Tony, or?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've done.
The only full motion picture ones I've basically done are the Thailand one.
Okay.
But I specialize in working for colleges in the Bay Area. I just done for Stanford, USF, and Dominican.
Okay.
I think I've made about 50 short documentaries.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
From like glass art to sustainability actions from like composting the soil.
Okay.
Or just like I'm actually working on this one right now with the National Park Service as well. Is this one?
Okay.
On sudden oak death.
Huh.
It's this pathogen that's killing all of the oaks, and now it just jumped to redwoods and ficus. So basically,
Interesting.
my project is called fadingforests.org.
Whoa.
So it's definitely gonna. I have a feeling it might kill all the forests in Cali.
Really? That is interesting. Huh.
All the old growth forests.
What's the pathogen called?
Sudden oak death.
Hepathin mora.
Pathogen. Okay. Huh. Interesting. What are you doing that one for? Is that just like your own personal?
Well, I connected
interest?
with the Park Service, to be honest,
Okay.
for like sustainability showcase that I did.
Okay.
I made a 10 documentary showcase for them, and I filmed the sudden oak death thing in like 3 hours.
Okay.
And I edited it in like 2. And
Whoa.
when I presented it to them, they were like, "It's perfect." And the
That's
ones I spent
sick.
more time on, they were like, "Redo this part. We don't like
Yeah.
that or whatever." So I felt like it was so natural for me to do.
Yeah.
I could really take on like an hour and a half project.
Okay.
Like the whole thing, like that Vic video I made.
Okay.
I only went down to the Vic one day
Yeah.
because I didn't have time. I was working that weekend, and I edited that in like an hour and a half.
Nice.
So imagine like months and months and months of me going to the beach, getting
Yeah.
the best shots.
That's
and spending
awesome.
Probably a couple hundred hours or 1,000 hours editing it.
Yeah. That's
Really
insane.
It's gonna make this thing get the respect. So we're good.
Yep.
Cool.
You don't want the stabilizer on the lens, do you?
What? No, it should be all off.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, everything should be off. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so I really appreciate your helping out with this project, man.
No, I appreciate you doing this project. This is awesome. Some serious stuff. It's about time something like this happened.
So we got an interview with Blair Conklin. Take 1. As I said before, just do your best to just basically just pretend like we're just talking.
Yeah, gotcha.
And stuff like that.
Sounds good.
I like to start every interview the same way as I end it.
Okay.
So you can just go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. My name is Blair Conklin. I am 18 years old, resident of Laguna Beach, and currently going to school at UC Berkeley.
Where were you originally born?
I was originally born in Marin County, up north, and moved to Laguna when I was just about a year old.
When was like the first time you ever heard of a skimboarder? Were you more of a surfer?
I was actually attracted to skimboarding before surfing or any other board sport. And I think the first time I was introduced to skimboarding was probably when I was around, 3 or 4 maybe. Just watching locals skim on the beach in the local area, and growing up close to some beaches in South Laguna, there's just always people down there doing the sport, and that's initially what got me into it and attracted.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Awesome.
So do you know anything about where the origination of? You want to touch on that just for a second?
Yeah, I can try to.
I'm gonna give a bottle of wine.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a little dry mouth.
That's why he's here.
Awesome. Oh, jeez. Poor dude walking up the stairs. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Want me to throw this thing out of the...
If you place it,
It's just.
do you
if
place
you're
it on the
just
ground?
Oh, okay.
Camera, so the thing's on the ground.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, basically the only thing we see is here.
Okay.
Is the wide angle, and then that one, is, believe it or not, is like on your face.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Insane.
So that one's the close up. This is the wide.
That's so weird. All right.
So the skimboard thing.
Okay, yeah. So how it started, basically, or...
Oh, and I forgot to tell you. Try to use my questions in your answers. If you
Oh,
can.
okay.
Start out,
Okay.
Like, pretend like we're in, like
Yeah,
class
yeah.
or something, yeah.
Gotcha. So skimboarding started, geez, I don't know how long ago. Maybe 19, I don't even know, I'm not even gonna try. Oh, the 20s, wow, okay. And I believe it was some lifeguards in Laguna Beach who were using small round wooden pieces of yeah, just small little round boards basically, and they were using them as transportation, and they were sliding across the wet sand on beaches in Laguna, I believe. All right.
So for those people out there, if you could give us like a quick little short definition of what you think skimboarding is, in
Ooh.
your words, how would you describe it to people? How maybe it's a little bit indifferent, or how it's similar to the other action sports that take place in the water.
Okay. Geez. So my definition of skimboarding would, geez, that's a hard question. I always when people ask me so what is skimboarding? I feel like I never really have a solid answer for it, unfortunately. But I would say it's skimboarding is a sport where you start from the sand with these days you're using boards made out of carbon fiber or geez, I don't really even know. But yeah, you're starting from the sand and you are either dropping it on running out towards the surf or shore break, and you are dropping it on wet sand or a shallow water, and you're sliding out to a wave. And keep in mind, this board doesn't have fins in it. It's not similar to a surfboard, really. Quite a bit smaller than a surfboard. But you're sliding out to the shore break from the beach, and you're catching the waves, and riding them back to shore is the ultimate goal. And yeah, what you do in between that your loop starting from the sand or an ending on the sand varies in several different ways.
Nice. Do you want to talk about how maybe you take the cider, or how
Yeah.
maybe you like a specific type of
Yeah,
certain type of ridge, or we're not trying
line or
Line,
something, yeah,
exactly, yeah.
something like that. So yeah, basically there's a few different waves that you're looking for when you're skimboarding, and I'd say the best is obviously shore break, as I said before, and I guess, yeah, there's a few different types of waves. So there's the side wash, which can ricochet off of jetties, rock formations, and basically it's when a wave crashes into this jetty or rock, the wave bounces off of it, and the wave's power is transferred in a different direction. And so you're catching this wave bouncing off of the rock, and it's sending you out to sea, and you have more speed to get further out, it's giving you more of a push to get out to further waves or farther out waves, and bigger waves too. So that's definitely a really awesome wave for skimboarding. Waves like the wedge, I'm sure quite a few people have heard of. And yeah, I mean, there's also like liners and stuff like that, point breaks, waves that are breaking close to the sand but are kind of wrapping a point so the wave is longer and you get a longer ride out of it. So I guess, yeah, for skimboarding, the best waves are waves that you get a decently long ride out of.
Great. I like how you were talking about how, you know, like if you're lucky enough, you kind of you get to catch the wave and you get to ride it all the way back in.
Yeah.
Do you remember like your first time you actually got to do that?
Ooh.
Where you actually, you know, when you got back to the surface, you know, a little bit more drier than normal, and you're like, you know, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's the ride I'm looking for.
Yeah. I don't think there was one wave that really marked that for me, but I think there's a point that you get to when you're learning how to skim where that's just what you're going for, and that's what feels the most satisfying and is really what's the fun of the sport, and just that completion of getting back to the sand. And yeah.
Perfect, man. You're doing a really good job.
All
This
right.
is awesome stuff, by the way. This
Sweet.
is perfect. Just want to let you know. Let's get a little bit more into the. Yeah. Can you hear them?
Just now. Just taking it.
Those teenagers in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he has our father's phone number.
Yes.
So, but yeah, let's talk about so when you're on the beach, you know, you want to talk about the notch? You want to talk about your notch selection, or like do you like to stand near people, or sometimes does it get annoying when you got a lot of people, or do you like being next to people and talking with them and that kind of environment?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think one of the big reasons I started skimboarding is so I didn't have to battle with the crowds, and I can just constantly be catching waves that are uninterfered by other people. But I think now that I've been in the sport for a little bit longer, I kind of enjoy doing the sport with other friends and just the whole community vibe of it. Don't get me wrong, though, it still is a little frustrating when you're battling a whole bunch of people trying to get a wave. Now that the sport is growing, you're starting to see a little bit more of that. But at the same time, like I said, it's kind of fun to just be with your friends down at the beach and you know, just having a good time and having that community feel of it.
Yeah, that the community atmosphere kind of like as you when you started skimming, it kind of grows away from being a community into like a family.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say so. I would say it's almost more of a small community than a family, I guess. But yeah, seems like people in the sport of skimboarding are just really friendly and more accepting than any other group I've ever been involved in. So yeah, it's just a really awesome group of people.
Can you maybe off the top of your head think about like not necessarily a day when you were skimming,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe a day where you guys kind of just maybe were trying to do other things, or you kind of just woke up in the morning? Because it's not necessarily like you woke up, or you years ago were saying like, I'm going to go outside and shoot hoops every day
Yeah.
to become a pro basketball player.
Yeah.
I'm going to go outside and kick a soccer ball. You know, you were just going to the beach with your friends.
Yeah, that's exactly how it started. And yeah, it's just it's not like skimboarding was really ever that thing that I wanted to be like really good at, or that I wanted to become a professional at. Something that just happened because of the pure fun of the sport and how much I enjoyed, you know, going to the beach with my friends or messing around when the waves were small or something like that. It's just something that's always like you can always do when you go down to the beach. And growing up in South Laguna, that's what you find yourself doing quite a bit. So
Do you ever find it difficult balancing your time and energy between skimming and other parts of your life, like with school and going to Berkeley now?
Yeah. It's definitely been a huge challenge now that I'm going to school up in Northern California. It's difficult because here's a sport that I love doing so much, and just wish I could be doing it all the time, sorry, I don't know. I kind of lost my.
Let's talk about, maybe you're talking about how you know that education is important. And maybe you're still going to be skimming in 20 years.
Yeah.
You want to have the educational standpoint to give you the confidence, or maybe just the understanding of people coming at you or what's going on in the world.
Yeah. That's a.
Maybe you want to educate other amateurs to not drop out.
Yeah.
People are dropping out and stuff like that. Maybe because I bet you've thought about it.
Yeah.
With like these purses and these things you're winning, it's like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you win 5-6 purses every year. It's better than most people can do just with a regular job.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's better than what people can do with a regular job.
I meant like a minimum wage.
Okay. Yeah. There is a small pay in the sport of skimboarding as a professional, but it's definitely not something you can really make a living out of. That's one of my main drives to keep on going to school and going to where else did you want me to go with that? Just
talking
encouraging.
about how you knew that going to Berkeley will give you other opportunities that you may want to take, but not necessarily put down skimming.
Yeah, exactly. So the pursuit of education is much greater than what the sport of skimboarding can offer, I guess you could say. As much as I love the sport, and as much as I wish I could just do it all the time and make a living out of it, it's not possible, and it's not doable. So right now I'm challenged with finding that balance in between my education and skimboarding, basically. So it's been difficult.
That was great, man. Do you want to take a sip of water?
Yeah, that would be great.
No problem, man. And any time you want to take like a 15-minute break, we can do that too.
Keep on plugging.
Yeah. Wait for everyone's done drinking, but yeah, for sure you can jump in. I just wanted to warn you. We are going to talk about the microgrom competition in 2006.
Okay.
And a couple of those other competitions that you probably would imagine I want to talk about.
Okay. Microgrom. What's that one?
They won the microgrom division at 2006 Animal World Championships in South Laguna in 2000. So that was a long time ago.
Okay.
It was, 7 years ago.
Okay. Jeez, I don't know if I remember that.
You don't have to. Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
That was just something I found. As you can imagine, there's stuff online.
Okay.
About especially the last 2 years of the tour.
Okay.
And stuff like that, like in Sonoma
Cool.
and stuff like that.
Cool. All right.
Wait until he puts his bottle down.
Oh yeah. All right. Go for it.
Do you think that there is any possibility of a more sustainable future for the amateurs and coming into the pro
Okay.
circuit? That you think that there will be an opportunity for them for a more sustainable lifestyle to devote themselves just to skimboarding?
Yeah.
Is it growing in the sense that the purses are growing and the winnings are growing, or is there a way for these people who are coming into it now, like you're only 18?
Yeah.
Is there also an opportunity for you to build out newer niches
And make a career out of the sport?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying? I think that I don't know if the sport will ever get to that point where you can make a living off of it, but I think that people are kind of drawn by those, the small purses that are available in at the professional level, and that's probably a few reasons why groms keep on, or younger skimboarders keep on skimboarding, and it's just another perk to the sport that keeps them involved in it, I guess. But I don't know if it'll ever get to that point where the purses are so large that you can, make a living off of it.
Have you heard about the
So-
$100,000 purse this next year?
I have not heard
It's in
about
the
that.
Wake skim competition.
Oh, really?
So you might want to check that out.
And where is this?
It's in the. It'll be. I don't know the exact location, but there's like it's like the boating and the wake skim community is doing like a skim. It's like a tow.
Okay,
competition
interesting.
with the skimboard.
And it's called wake skimming.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I think I heard the purse last year was almost 50 or 60 grand, and this year it's going to be 100.
Wow. And where is this?
I'll send you the information
Yeah.
for sure.
That would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I was looking it up, and Tex is the one that had mentioned it to me. They heard it was going to get that big.
Interesting. That's pretty phenomenal.
Kyle, if you want, you can come sit next to me. It'll be kind of to know. I already talked to the kids. They already know what we're going to do. Right. So, this might be another one of those funny questions. How is it being pronounced like a professional athlete? I'm sure you get these weird fans.
Yeah.
You get people on the beach coming up to you and just being like, asking, does that happen? Or?
Yeah, you get a little bit of that, but it's pretty minimal. I mean, you don't see a whole bunch of it. I guess you kind of have like a small fan base. I would almost just consider it more friends than anything, or people you have a loose connection with. And when you travel, that's where you see it a lot. So when you're going to, some foreign countries, and you have a few people that know you because of videos they've seen, and stuff like that. But really, they're just, they're people who love the sport just like you do, or just like I had a love for it, and it's kind of cool seeing that, and just, seeing that you're influencing others a little bit, and.
Talk about the influence others,
Yeah.
like, as being a professional athlete, is it kind of strange being on the same level as, those Magic Johnson? Or,
Yeah.
You probably don't think of it.
No,
that way,
definitely
but
not.
It's
Definitely not.
You don't feel that the professional league and this is the same type of, but you guys put on that work.
Yeah, I mean, professionals in skimboarding put in a lot of time in doing what they love. That's how I look at it. I don't know if any of us look at it as work. It's kind of just something we enjoy doing. So and you got to keep in mind too that it's a really small, and what I like to think, a growing sport. So, just because you're a professional doesn't mean you're Magic Johnson, or not even close to that level. But yeah, does that answer it pretty well?
It does. No, yeah,
Okay.
perfect. That's it makes you look super modest. Blair. I know I haven't known you for that long, but it's kind of
Yeah.
weird, especially like Sammy and all these kids that I used to
Yeah.
play soft in my backyard.
Yeah.
Just
That's
chilling
what
and
Sam was
stuff
telling
like
me.
that. Yeah. and
That's freaking
it's,
awesome.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And people it's the type of thing, and that's where I'm hoping with something like this will help them understand that you guys are real people.
Yeah.
You guys aren't, this Laguna ideology
Yeah.
isn't who this culture is about.
Yep.
It's this hidden niche.
Yeah,
as they
definitely.
would say it.
Definitely.
Why did you choose skimming over other board sports?
I'd say for quite a few different reasons. I guess growing in South Laguna had a huge influence on how I started skimboarding, and just it being such a mecca for the sport, and just so consistently good for skimboarding, definitely got me started, and I don't know, got me, growing up in Laguna was,
My first look at the beaches you guys had here, I was like, no way,
Yeah.
this is the mecca of skimboarding.
Yeah.
It's like, my God.
Exactly. And then another reason the sport was appealing to me was just because of the crowds, and how many people are doing it. Surfing just seemed a little bit too, it's just hard to battle all the crowds, and I just found it much easier to to pick up my skimboard, get down to the beach, and catch 100 waves in an hour, you know, and that was another reason I enjoyed skimboarding before surfing. And another
Catching those
reason.
100 waves ever be possible on a surfboard?
Yes, definitely not. Definitely not. With the crowds around here and just, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, catching that many waves in a certain amount of time is just close to impossible on a surfboard. Whereas if you're skimming, sure, you have that little wait in between waves, but you know, you just pretty much are running circles on a good day and having a blast.
In surfing, you run into the problem of localism.
Yeah.
Do you ever see that in skimboarding?
Like in Sanunga?
Yeah.
I heard you guys got some pretty vicious.
Yeah, there's a little bit of localism in, a few places I've gone. But not nearly to the level as what I've seen in surfing. And, you know, once you spend some time in those areas that are localized, that localism seems to kind of fade away, I'd say. But yeah, there has definitely been that vibe in a few areas that I've gone. I remember mainland Mexico was kind of that way the first time I went there, and yeah, Sanunga was pretty bad as well. But
Do you want to elaborate, or you don't have to? If you want to.
Yeah.
On like why Sanunga was bad.
Yeah, I think.
I heard people were fighting for waves.
Yeah.
In the smallest waves, but fist throwing and stuff.
Yeah.
In the water, which you don't see down here.
Geez, I don't recall seeing any of that. I don't remember seeing any violence. But I think what made Sanunga, or just the Brazilians or the locals, the Brazilian locals at that spot, what made them more, I don't know, I guess you could say aggressive, fierce in claiming their territory was just the fact that it was a big United Skim Tour contest, and they kind of wanted to prove what they had, and I guess it was just seeing a lot of people coming from all over the place to their home break it's kind of understandable why they wanted to hold it down, and why they almost had the right to be localized, or some localism.
That's awesome. One quick question: is that sun bothering you?
A little bit, but my hat's kind of blocking it, so
If it's bothering you, I can shift you 6 inches forward.
Oh yeah, that would probably be good. It's kind of just
Stay where
peeking.
you are right now, and then.
Okay.
This is gonna go boom. This is gonna go boom.
Perfect.
That's crazy. You were
You
in the
just-
shot.
Oh really?
Yeah,
You didn't even look at it, you just set it down. It was perfect.
it's muscle memory, man. You like the tree? Or do you want me to put it in the shade blanket?
I like that one.
We gotta give room for his lower third. We want to put Blair Conklin right there. Oh, and any other? I was gonna say is I'm gonna do lower thirds. Give people an
Okay.
idea. But you're gonna. So if you want to
Lower thirds. What does that mean? I don't even.
when you watch a documentary and it introduces the person,
Oh,
their
okay.
names and sometimes a title.
It'd be like your title, just like.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
Would you want to be labeled with one of your team,
Yeah, that would be good.
like team writer?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I've just been double checking with people, is exactly what they're and specifically what they're interested in.
Okay.
For the craziness of Tom Traeger.
Okay.
Marine lieutenant for Laguna Beach.
All right.
Right, 'cause
Gotcha.
he works for the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost done. We got about 5 or
So you
10
work for the water district? Is that what Tom Traeger's doing?
Yeah, and
That's
he
right.
does that. He
Okay.
does stuff with all the lifeguards and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Regional water board or?
No, just the city.
I was thinking of someone else. I think there's another skimboarder who works for the water district who's kind of a legend. I forgot what that. Trig? Maybe it was Trig.
Yeah. I think Kai also works there.
Okay.
And then it's Tom Traeger and yeah. Have you ever interacted with Tom or Chris Henderson or any of these guys?
Yeah. Chris Henderson is awesome. I know that guy a little bit. Gotten to know him better over the last few years, but I love that dude. He's just an all-around nice guy. And
yeah, I'm actually
awesome
he's going to be interviewing for the project.
Oh, awesome.
And, so yeah, if you do you remember a certain instance where you kind of just were skimming with him? Or you do it all the time, probably.
Well, unfortunately, I don't really get the opportunity to skim with him all that much anymore. I don't see him, on the beach, skimming, as much as he used to. And unfortunately, I was kind of just getting into skimboarding when he was at his peak or doing it the most. So I didn't skim with him all that much, but. I think
looking for like a
yeah,
like a leader or something, or someone that you looked up to.
Yeah, okay.
It sounds like in your tone of voice. That's what I meant when I was going with that.
Okay, gotcha. Someone I look up to.
Because you would be surprised when I get him in this chair how he might talk about you.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it'll flip back and forth between you two, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I definitely look up to Chris. Like I said, I didn't really get to see him or watch him skimboard during his peak. So that was before my time, I think. But just knowing all that he's done for the sport, and he's an awesome waterman too. So good surfer. I know he spent quite a bit of time in Hawaii. I believe he was even doing some paddle-in skimboarding in Hawaii way back in the day, which I kind of just recently heard about. But it's just kind of interesting to see how some of us are doing that today, and doing some more big wave toe-in skimboarding, stuff like that, and just to see how Chris was doing that way back in the day, way before our time, is pretty cool.
Do you find it interesting that maybe like Connor and the new Groms, like Jared and those guys, are looking up to you now, and kind of how you kind of just the table has changed, or how they say it?
Yeah, I was always friends with those kids, so I wouldn't say that they're necessarily looking up to me, but it's just, it's always skimming together and doing the sport together. It's just,
How do you see
I don't know. Evolving? How do I see the sport evolving? I guess within the past few years, I feel like at a local level, I've been seeing a lot more beginners and just more people trying to learn how to skimboard. And on a more international level, there's quite a good following, is what it looks like to me. I don't know if that's new, or if the sport is actually exponentially growing, which I like to think it is. But yeah, I feel like the sport is definitely growing and evolving for the best, for the better.
Andrew and Tex have been kind of allocating that it's going to take you guys making a professional union for you guys selves to protect yourselves.
Okay.
And what do you think about the possibility of that? Like you and Sam and
Okay.
and
A union. What?
like
a.
Rob did for the skaters.
Okay.
With the pro league.
Okay.
And how,
I'm not too familiar with that.
So say you remember when the hockey NHL, when they got in that fight a couple 4 or 5 years ago, and
Don't
there
follow
was
hockey
no
all
hockey
much.
for 3 years.
Okay.
That's because you guys are in control. You are athletes.
Oh,
These
okay.
guys that write the paperwork or own the stadiums.
Yeah.
Those stadiums are there for them.
Yeah.
For the athletes. So there's
Interesting.
these unions that have been created in football and in basketball and in every pro sport.
Okay.
Except surfing and skimming. Because you don't see team riders. You don't see these teams.
Yeah.
Surfing. Like, this is just unheard of.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of like the idea of that. So basically, if you have a union of professional riders, it's the the sport is going to be evolving more around what the professionals want to see, from it. I like that idea. I mean, I haven't really heard much about it, but I
it's
think
definitely something that they're probably just trying to throw out there to see if you guys would do it.
yeah,
But that's why I'm telling the source.
yeah,
You might as well.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it would
Yeah,
definitely
it's something
be
I
you
should
guys-
probably know about.
Let's say if you say that's whack the way you guys are scoring.
Yeah,
You know, you guys
yeah.
have
There's
a board
definitely
meeting
been.
with everybody, and you're like, this is what it's gonna be now.
Yeah,
And
that's
then they
there's
can't
definitely
really
been.
say- They can't. No, you can't tell us what's. No,
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, we're a union.
Yeah, so that's the point of the union is to
Yeah.
protect your guys in the future and stuff like that.
What is it that defines a professional in skimboarding?
Oh, that's another really hard question. I don't think there's really anything that defines a professional. As of right now, pretty much anybody can be a pro. I mean, I guess I look at it as what defines them a professional is them competing as a professional, and you don't really have to have any label to do that. You can, anybody could go pro. Like, there's no holding anyone back. So, yeah.
That's great.
Time and effort.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, what separates a true professional from a person is in anything is exactly the time and effort they put into it, or their passion for the sport. So
I really want to make a message to amateurs about the dangers of skimming. Not necessarily to scare them,
Mhm.
but to just make sure that we cover our bounds and we don't get like a couple thousand
Yeah.
kids on boards and then a couple thousand kids getting hurt.
yeah,
So maybe it might help for you to allocate how maybe you got hurt in the last few months, or something may have happened, and
Yeah.
someone like of your practice and of your work ethic could still get hurt.
Yeah.
Show them that it's a dangerous sport. Take your time. Don't force it. If you don't feel it, don't go in. Or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, skimboarding is definitely a dangerous sport, and it takes a toll on the body after a while. Running full speed into waves pounding directly on the sand can end up being disastrous. Luckily I haven't had any serious injuries during my career, but the boards are pretty dangerous if those things are spinning around in shore break after you fall or something. If they hit you, that definitely doesn't feel too great. And a common injury skimboarding is just the standard board to the shins. That's inevitable while you're learning. Are you saying wrist injuries or something like that? Yeah, when you're learning, sliding on the sand, you're going to be falling down a lot, slipping out. A lot of impacts on the wrists or knees or something like that. Even now, I feel like I've gone through quite a few more, or just have been exposed to more injuries with my knees and back problems, just stuff like that. What else?
Just a message to those kids.
Yeah.
To just not be afraid, but to
Yeah.
be careful.
The first time I tried skimboarding, I broke my wrist.
Really? Oh, jeez. On the sand? Was it on the sand? Yeah.
I didn't have enough water underneath. I jumped on.
Yeah, slipped out.
Had my weight all up.
Yeah.
Right, and just right down the way.
Exactly. Yeah, so I guess to sum that up, it's just, with any sport you're trying to learn and get better at, you're going to be pushing yourself, which needs to happen. And with skimboarding, there are repercussions of trying to push yourself, and it's definitely not an easy sport to pick up. But yeah.
Wait, this is a question I overlooked. I wanted to touch on with you guys could you describe, this is going to be ridiculous, but do you know what it's called when you guys are slapping onto your boards? Or
Okay.
is it just like an applaud type thing? Or do you want to describe to people what you guys are kind of doing?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You guys all slapping boards at the same time? Or do you kick sand on your board? Or do you do any of that?
I personally don't do much of that,
That's
but
fine, yeah.
yeah. So I guess, for anybody who's hasn't been exposed to skimboarding and is just watching the sport for their first time, you might see people, you know, like you said, kick sand on their board, and that's basically to keep the board from flying up into your face or hitting you in the shins or something like that when you're running and dropping the board. Because when you're running full speed and dropping the board on the sand, the winds, if there's any wind that day, your board's going to be flying up kind of when you drop it. So if you kick wet sand on the bottom of your board, it's basically just going to put a little bit more weight on the nose, so that the board doesn't do that. And also when you drop that board, all that weight is, comes off of the board because water's washing the wet sand off. So when you're riding the wave, there's not that extra added weight to the board anymore.
And then the pounding of the board after if someone makes a
Yeah.
mark in the water or something,
Yeah.
it's kind of just like
I mean, when you watch your buddy get a good wave or something like that, just, pounding your board is kind of like a way of applauding, or applauding for a friend who's got a good ride or did something pretty insane.
Okay, great. Maybe talk about how maybe skimming taking place in SHOREBREAK is a little bit different. I think we kind of touched on that already, but and then maybe you skimming accepted by your other surfer friends or people that don't skim, or do you mostly only hang out with skimmers, or is it just you know what I mean? Like when you traveled, did people like, oh, you're just skimming?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, you definitely see a little bit of that among people who aren't fully aware of what the sport is. Like, common misperception is, oh, skimboarding, dropping a board on wet sand and riding along the wet sand, which, it isn't that. Something much more. So yeah, you do see a little bit of down talking of the sport, among people who don't really know what it fully is.
Do you want to talk?
Does that answer what you're? Was that answer like the question you're going at? Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about your relationship really quick with Perry?
Yeah.
It seems like you guys are really good friends.
Yeah, we definitely are. So I met Perry Pruitt when I went to my first East Coast contest, I believe. We were probably around 11 years old or something like that, maybe a little bit older. And, he was my main competitor during the contests back then. And it was our matchup in competing against each other was highly anticipated, I guess you could say. And I guess just getting the opportunity to skim with somebody on the East Coast and compete against him somehow just became really good friends. And
did you find yourself like sharing skills or anything like that, or saying like this looks a little different, or was it just mostly just friendship, just like click immediately because you guys had so much in common?
Yeah, I would almost say we clicked pretty instantly, and geez, I don't know. We always pushed each other too, as if we're both progressing and learning new stuff or trying to get better at the sport. We just pretty much became friends immediately, and there's always that competitive vibe between both of us, so we were always trying to outdo one another and push each other. And that was another, kind of cool thing about Perry, is push me to do better and made me progress, I guess.
Do you want to talk about the Vic or the Santa Cruz, those events that you won?
Yeah.
Talking about those, or Just talk about, was it just the waves went your way, or you just
What
felt
was
it?
the most memorable moment in skimboarding for you?
Most memorable moment. I'd say that one of the most memorable moments was getting second to Sam in Sanunga. That contest was just in my eyes, just the most awesome all around contest ever. You know, you had awesome waves, competitive Brazilians, and you know, just really a really large pool of great skimboarders, and so it was just one of the most competitive contests I've ever skimmed in, and getting to compete against the Brazilians on their home break was just phenomenal, watching them do their thing at their spot, and really humbling too. They're awesome athletes and really good skimboarders. So
Can you say it's really humbling and they're awesome athletes one more time?
Yeah, so watching the Brazilians skim their home spot is really humbling. You know, when you pull up to this spot and just expect to get awesome waves, but you know, here these guys are pretty much out skimming you in every way at the spot that they know best. So yeah, I'd say that was something that made my placing in Sanunga a little bit more valuable. It's just that wide pool of great athletes and good competitors.
I'm so glad you put it that way, because you're not the first person to say it's the best contest ever.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Looking at the footage, it was amazing.
Yeah,
Did
definitely.
did you? I'm actually hoping you guys end up going back there.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna go with you guys if you guys do.
Yeah, I believe we are.
Yeah, and get him in the water and me on the shore and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But did you, when you were, as you were saying, their local techniques, when you first
Yeah.
got there after the first wave, did you say, dude, he's going out earlier?
Yeah, oh
He's
yeah.
going out way early, and he's got to pump into the cider. instead of
Yeah.
catching the cider. I noticed that you guys had to be about 15 or 20 feet in front of the cider
Yeah.
before it even hits you, which normally you kind of catch it
Yeah.
as you go.
Yeah, that wave there was just like nothing I've ever skimmed before. It was just so foreign to me. And the way you had to catch it, the timing of the wave, when you had to run at it was just completely different than what I was used to. So watching the locals, you know, help me out and seeing how they did it, basically allowed me to figure out the wave a little bit better. And yeah,
Take
it's,
second.
yeah.
Do you feel like you took anything with you from Sanunga that has added to your style in skimboarding?
Jeez.
Or even if you just grew as an individual.
Or even just any way that like just competing in that contest just helped you like grow and see the sport anew, or just any way?
Yeah, I guess you could say it. Let me think about that one for a second.
No problem.
Yeah. I'd have to say that, you know, going to Sanunga made me realize, you know, that the sport really is growing, and here are these skimboarders who I've never met before, and yet they're progressing the sport and are, you know, truly professional athletes. I mean, made me have a respect for geez, I don't know.
It's okay, collect it and then
Yeah.
made me have
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Check to see if that's running still, Kyle. The memory card on that big one, the big cam. Yeah. Still got the red dot.
It's blinking.
Ooh. No, that means it's being used. We're good. But yeah. When you're ready, buddy.
All right. Yeah, so getting the opportunity to travel to Brazil and watch the locals there made me have a respect for, you know, people picking up the sport and enjoying it as much as I do, and getting better than me at it. You know, it's pretty cool to see that that in such a foreign place, people that I don't really have a connection to are enjoying the sport, like I said, as much as I do, and getting better. And yeah.
Did you ever think? What did you feel like when you were getting on the plane coming home? When did it hit you when you were coming home and you're like, you know, me and Sammy just showed up and we did our thing, and now we're going back home, and like you kind of had to take in this whole trip.
Yeah, you definitely had to take it in, and you know, I guess it was kind of hard leaving. Definitely, I just had such an awesome time there. You know, regardless of how well you do in the contest, it's just such a breathtaking place. Yeah. So regardless of the competition and how well you do in it or whatnot, it's just the area itself is such a breathtaking place for anybody who loves skimboarding as much as professional athletes do. Just such an incredible wave and great environment, I guess.
Any other questions?
It's popping in my head.
You realize in the last 2 years that you're pretty much always replacing top 8. Just always at every competition, either you were top few, couple 3, you know, is that,
Yeah.
I don't want to upset you, but is that frustrating that you're so close, or you just love that you guys are competing and there's always competition, as you're saying, everyone's driving each other to get better?
Yeah, I'd have to say that this past year was a little frustrating for me. I had a few injuries that kind of put me out of the game a little bit, and I really enjoy the competitive level that the sport is at right now. There's just so many good skimboarders battling each other that there's no one who is that guy who's going to win every contest, or that individual who's going to be placing in the top every time, the top 3 or whatnot. It's always changing up with how many good riders there are in the sport right now. So that's really awesome. But yeah, this past year was kind of a bummer with some injuries that I had, and I mean, it was still an awesome year regardless. So. And
you just knew you just had to stay positive and.
Yeah, definitely.
Just, do daily stretching.
Give it
like that, or?
Give it your best the next time you're healthy and 100%. But I mean, competing isn't the only thing that keeps me interested in the sport, you know. And
so what does drive you?
I'd say what drives me the most to progress at skimboarding is just how much fun I have doing it. You know, it's and in competitions you do have fun too, and that's just another part of it. Sure, it can be kind of frustrating sometimes, but gotta get past that and just, you know, look back on why you really are at skimboarding and what got you into it, and that's just the pure fun of the sport itself. So yeah.
That was money.
Yeah.
Do you feel that your love and you're just, as you're saying, like you just love the sport, is from the sport itself or from your interaction with your friends as you do it? Or is it because, you know, if your friends were dicks, if they were like, get up,
Yeah.
if Sammy was like, you know, you got second.
Yeah.
Like, nice, Blair, you know, how he normally is, you know, how would that change things?
It would definitely change things. I think, you know, do you want me to wait for that helicopter to pass?
Yeah, if you want, yeah. Theoretically, they're not too bad. The only thing we worry about is like things that change frequencies.
Okay.
That's why like the gardeners and stuff, and like howling dogs and something like that.
Revs up and down.
Okay.
The helicopter's like low and steady. We can
Oh,
figure that
huh.
out.
Interesting.
Probably end up still using that shot, but you thinking contently with the helicopter going behind you. Super sick.
That's awesome. So, okay, yeah.
Receiving high fives instead of FUs.
Yeah, and yes, I enjoy skimboarding so much because of a mixture between how fun I find the sport to be, and how friendly the skimboarding community is. So I guess you could say that both of those kind of keep me involved in it and make the sport awesome. I mean,
Blair,
you want me to keep on going? Elaborate on that.
I like to start every interview like how I end it.
All right.
And if you want to introduce yourself and say where you're from, or if you have anything to add, like a message to your parents, if they supported you or anything
Okay.
like that, no matter what your decisions, that's where this is your time right now.
All right, sweet. All right, my name is Blair Conklin, 18 years old, and just finished a pretty awesome interview here with Tony. Really appreciate it. Once again, really appreciate what you're doing. And big shout out to my Gramps, who allowed me to move to South Laguna when I was a year old, and it's probably the only reason I'm here today and doing what I love. And shout out to my parents for always supporting me in the sport and allowing me to do what I do, and big thanks to everybody in the skimming community for being awesome and progressing the sport. I guess that's what I got.
And it's a cut, my friend.
All right,
That's a wrap.
sweet.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah, actually, I asked more questions than I thought I was going to.
No problem.